Okay, hello everyone. Happy Friday. We have our last session of the week, which is our lower body conditioning and strength. And I worded it that way specifically because we are going to be starting off with a nice sweaty conditioning circuit and then moving on to our strength stuff afterwards. Of course, before we do any of that, we're going to get you going here with a nice warm-up. And I also want to prep you for some of the equipment that you're going to need. 8-pound dumbbells, whatever weight dumbbells you have. I will also be using my loop bands and this here towel, although of course I have options for those of us who do not have a towel and or a floor to slide that towel on, because not all of us have that. Okay, so let's get you started with coming on down to the end of your mat, standing hip width apart, straight legs but soft knees. We're gonna get you going with some of these walkouts, 3 of them to be exact, where all we do is walk down to the bottom, and then we're gonna walk up to the top, stand up tall. Nothing's happening at the top or the bottom for these first 3, except that nice stretch that you're feeling through the back of the legs. So we'll go through 3 of these total. 3. And then once you're finished that last one there, we're going into 1 more, but we're going to stay down here for this last one in this strong plank position, lifting up the hips to the ceiling, walking out the hips, dropping 1 heel while bending opposite knee, getting that stretch through the calf, the hamstring. We're doing 6 of these total, 3 on each side. And then we'll drop the hips back down, walk ourselves back up to the top. Once again, standing tall, and we're going to do that one 2 more times. And we're hopping in here. Okay, so going through these ones. Again, walking down to the bottom, come on in, Carly. Lifting up the hips and lowering 1 heel while bending opposite knee. 6 of these, 3 on each side. Taking our sweet time with them, trying to open up the calves, the back of the legs, back into the plank. And then we'll walk back up to the top, standing tall and doing it 1 more time to make it 3 reps. Total of those ones there. So I'll let you guys go through that last one. 3 of them. And then you can stand on up. Join me the front of your, or middle of your mat rather, getting to our squat stance. So we want our feet a little wider than our hips, that slight angle out in our toes. We're gonna sit down into a squat, trying to get our feet, or our hands rather, as close to the floor as possible. Once we're down here, we're gonna lift up 1 arm, lift up the other arm, and then stand up to the top. That's 1. We're doing 10 of these. So if you can touch the floor, that's great. We're just getting, again, as close as we can at this time in our lives, at this hour of the day, trying to get our hips down to 90 degrees. And again, maintaining that nice, strong overhead position before we stand up. So we want to send those arms up above our head so that we don't see them before we stand up and out of that squat. So we'll go through these ones, 10 of those total. I'll let you guys count those ones out. Again, taking our time, trying to get our hips warmed up, woken up. 10 reps. And then we have some lunges coming up next. So as you finish up your 10 of those squats, we're coming to the front of the mat now, some space behind us. Arms down by our sides. I'm going to step back into a lunge. As I do that, I'll turn at the same time towards that knee. Oftentimes we'll sort of separate those 2, but today we want to add them together. So stepping back, turning in, sending both arms above our head, straight as possible in the arms, counting out 10 on each side, 20 reps total. So as we do this, we'll feel that sort of stretch on the outside of the hip on that front leg, as well as a little bit of opening stretch in the front of the hip on that back leg. So we'll go through these ones, 20 total, 10 on each side. Trying to make it as fluid, flowing through this as much as we can, as much as possible, rather than sort of separating those 2, which we are very used to doing. As we finish up our lunges, we have our next ones, which are our side lunges, and we'll need some space on either side of the mat. So we're going to bring ourselves right into the center. Once again, our arms are going to be down by our sides, stepping out into a side lunge, sending both arms out into this straight position, pushing ourselves back up, and then I alternate. So I'll go over to the other side. That's 2. We're doing 20 is our number to be, 10 on each side. So trying to maintain this nice, strong, long arm position, straight arms, relaxing the shoulders, but making sure to lift those arms up in line with the shoulders. As I go through the side lunges, we know the drill with these. We want to stick our butt out, send the hips back behind us so that we're not sitting too upright, but rather we sort of lean forward to allow those hips to be pushed out, sticking out our butts. So we'll go through 20, 10 on each, and we are alternating. So we go right side, left side, 20 total. Very nice. There you go. So this one will feel that opening stretch now through the adductors, our inner thighs, as we go through these side lunges on both sides. There you go. So we'll take our time with those ones. The next 2 that we are going to do are down on the floor. So as we are finishing up the side lunges, you can come on down here onto your back for the next 2. The first one is going to be a hip, a little bit of core work, but mostly thinking about waking up and warming up our glutes. We want to get into this bridging position. So we should be able to feel our heels with a bit of a reach, but not without the reach. We want to, first things first, push our low back into the floor, driving the hips up to the very top of that hip bridge. We're going to shift the weight onto one leg, lift up that other leg, lower the hips, touching the low back, not the butt, and then we drive back up. Put this foot down, shifting over to the other side, lowering the low back, not the butt, and then we drive back up. That's 2. We're doing 10 of those total. So we're trying our best to keep our hips as stable, as still as possible so that they're not falling or shifting as we switch sides and alternate our legs right and left. So we'll go through these ones. Again, 5 on each side, 10 reps total of these hip bridges. So we're waking up the glutes, which you'll probably start to feel. And again, we're also getting some sneaky core activation work by maintaining that stable position in our hips. If your hips are falling and tilting, then you got to tighten that up so that you get, again, that core work in there. Once you're finished 10, don't go anywhere because we're going to stay down here for the next one, which is all about our core. We're going to get ourselves to our dead bugging position, take our palm, squish it into the top of our opposite knee, and then we'll lower down our opposite arm and leg. Just need a little bit more space back there. Yes. Going through 10 of these total. Now, most importantly here is keeping our low back down, which is why you see me bending my leg like this. If you can keep your back down and straighten out your leg, then you go for it. We're doing 10 on each side. Exhaling as we send those limbs down, inhaling as we bring them back up, and the entire time we're fighting these 2 together as hard as we can, which is going to give us, again, that additional bit of core activation work. So we'll get through 10 on this side, and then we shall switch and do the exact same thing on the other side, whether you chose to have the bent leg, or maybe you tried doing it with the straight leg, whatever it was. We'll take it over here, we'll do it on this side, and feeling all the things, waking up, warming up in our core. So we'll finish up those ones. We have one more down here. So again, don't get too keen on standing up quite yet. For this last one though, we are going to flip over into our all 4 position. We want to make sure that the shoulders are stacked on top of the wrists. The hips are over top of the knees. We're going to dig the toes into the floor. Pop off the knees, try to lift up opposite arm and opposite leg. Every time we do that, you'll feel your hips want to tilt and shift. That's what we're trying to avoid and control. We're doing 20 of these total, 10 on each side. Trying to breathe as we go through this, not holding our breath. Then 10 per side, 20 total. Again, another one that's really targeting that core activation, which you probably feel. And again, we'll get much more out of if we control that shifting and tilting in the hips. So 20, 10 each side. Oh yeah, we're going up there. Should be warm after that one. Once you're finished, we are gonna stand up to the top and get you started on this first part of today's session. So first part that we're going through today, no equipment involved. We will be on a timer. We're going to set this timer to beep essentially every 60 seconds. We're going to have 3 movements, which we shall talk about right now before we start the timer. These 3 movements are going to be followed by 1 full minute of rest. That is going to complete 1 round. We are doing 3 rounds of this total. So all you're going to need for this first part is your body and some space and potentially your supportive footwear, especially if you are going to be joining me on the jumping, the higher impact stuff. Of course, I will have low impact options for those of us who don't jump. First one that we're going to do is a forward, backward, switch, lunges. Welcome back. It's been a minute since we've done these, but we are back here and doing these for 60 seconds. Once we're finished those, there is no rest time in between. We're going to get some rest at the very end, but when we're switching between these, we're just going back to back. Second one is going to be our split jumps. We're working with a lateral split jump down the length of our mat, forward, or side to side rather, working with the arms and the legs together. That will be our second movement. Third one is down on the floor. We've done this one oftentimes with a push-up. Good news is there's no push-up today. We're going for the hands and the feet in a strong plank position, and we're shifting the hips back to what we call a bear squat. And you'll be working with this one for 60 seconds. Once we're finished that one, then we're gonna have 1 full minute of rest, okay? That's gonna be our first round of the conditioning circuit. We're doing 3 rounds, then we are done that conditioning work. We'll move on to the strength. So I'll let you guys grab a couple sips of water, take some preparation, deep breaths. I'm gonna set our timer here. 60 seconds, it's going to beep. And again, we have to make sure that we are hustling between these movements because we only have that rest at the very end once we're done all 3. All right, are you guys ready? I'm not, please hold. There we go, okay. All right, so starting off with that first one, forward, backward lunges, starting in 5 seconds. Get ready, 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Starting our first round. So again, we want to use the arms, opposite arm, opposite leg, switching in the back, stepping forward, pushing ourselves all the way back, and then switching. For those of us who don't jump, rather than jumping back here, we're simply going to stand up and switch legs instead of jumping. That's something, again, that you can also do if you feel like you are not going to make it, is you can take out that jump and just add a switching lunge instead. Halfway there, my friends. 30 seconds left. So we'll pace ourselves, especially through this first round, so that we don't have to stop. We want to do something that we can maintain the entire time. And you know, first round, we're feeling pretty good. We're probably the least tired that we're going to be in all the rounds. So we'll try to push ourselves here and set a standard for what we're going to do in the next 2 rounds. 3, 2, 1, and time right into our split jumps. So again, no rest in between. We're going right into these guys here, which very well could just be in place. You don't necessarily need to travel unless you want to. Just kind of makes it a bit more interesting, gives you something additional to think about, is having some movement side to side in these ones. Those of us who do not jump, we're going to just go over and back of an imaginary line. Same thing with the arms. We want to try to involve the arms as we go through this. 30 seconds left. Let's go. Pacing ourselves, which is probably a little bit easier to do on this one, as there's not any, or as much rather, leg involvement in it. 15 seconds left. And again, you can just go a little slower if you need, or on the flip side, go faster and try to push yourself, because you know that the harder, the faster, the more intense we are in these movements, the more you're going to get out of the circuit. And onto the floor we go. For our last one, plank position, we can widen up our feet a little wider than our hips. We're going to rock the hips back, trying to create a nice long spine. We want to make sure that our knees stay down close to the floor. And this one is a quad burner. You're going to feel this a lot in the tops of your thighs as we go through this. And of course, yeah, cardio. Breathe in. Hot and heavy. Let's do it. 25 seconds left. So after this one, 1 minute of rest is on the menu. So again, we'll try to stay strong here no matter what. I would like all of us to maintain a plank as much as we can. Maybe again, just throw in a few of those bear squats here and there. 5 seconds left. Let's go for 2 more. 3, 2, 1, and rest. Okay, resting. So that's what's up for the next minute. It's just some rest time, which you are probably feeling like you need after that little circuit there. So we're gonna grab some water, do a few laps around our mat and or around the room that we have, because movement is gonna help you overall just feel better and sort of cool down and calm down more efficiently than you just sort of standing or sitting still. So we have 30 more seconds left before we shall start our second of 3 sets. So we have to do this 2 more times. Not too bad, maybe easy for me to say. Okay, so we're going back into our forward, backward lunges starting in 15 seconds. So again, we'll grab water. We'll try to send all that air nice and deep into our belly to help calm us down, just so that we can get you going right back up in this next round, which starts right now. Let's go. So forward, backward, and switch. Let's do it. Second set. I'm trying to do the exact same thing that you did on the first, maybe even add in a little bit more to it, trying to be a bit quicker in your feet, landing soft as we go through that switching jump. And again, pacing ourselves so that we can keep doing this the entire time, in which you have 30 seconds left up. Let's get it. So we'll try to breathe through this. Again, use the arms, a little bit of coordination with that opposite arm, opposite leg connection. We also get a slight bit of help from some momentum from using the arms. 10 seconds left. There you go. Okay, so starting our split jumps in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Right into our second set. Again, we'll try to involve the arms, whether we're moving them straight arms or bent arms, but I want you moving them with your legs. And that applies to our high impact or our low impact if you are not jumping. You want to connect that opposite arm and leg. And sometimes, again, we kind of have to slow down a little bit. Find that connection first, and then build up and pick up our pace as we go through that with that connection, with that coordination that I always like to throw at you guys here. 20 seconds left. So again, these ones, I mean, they can be kind of easy if you're just kind of trucking along, going slow, but they can also be really challenging. And you're pushing yourselves, you're trying to get yourself to that very uncomfortable, I need to stop feeling, you know, the one I'm talking about. Let's get there. 3, 2, 1, and down we go. Plank position. Hands, feet, hips, reach back, and then we come back into that nice, strong plank position. So again, if you're feeling that really big burn in your quads, that's because that's part of the deal on this one. Quads are working a lot to help maintain us in that sort of lower plank position. 30 seconds left, my friends. We have a little bit of rest. 1 more set, and we are done this stuff. So we'll pace ourselves here. 20 more seconds. Maybe going through about 5 more of these, taking a sweet time with them, breathing as we go through them, not holding our breath. 10 seconds left. We need 2 more. Maybe 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. Okay. Woo! That one is much harder than it looks. I know. All right, so we're gonna rest now. Again, breathing, walking, doing all those things that we talked about after our first set there. We have 1 more round. So we're gonna do all this stuff 1 more time, and then we shall be slowing her down and moving on to our strength work, which is probably good news for most of us. Because if you want to ask me about it, I think this stuff is probably the hardest work of today's session. We'll see. Okay, so 20 seconds left. Again, the goal here is to calm yourself down. Bring your heart rate down. Try to come back to a more sort of normal level, just so that we can bring it right back up in our next and our final round, which starts in 10 seconds. So we have one more set. Getting yourselves ready for your forward, backward, switch, lunges. Ready or not, let's go. Working through our final set. Trying to, again, breathe as we go through these. Get all the way down to 90 degrees on every one of those lunges, as much as you might not want to. This is your last chance, your last round doing this. So we'll try to do it to the fullest that we can. 30 seconds left, my friends. Let's get it. Breathing, pacing ourselves so that we can keep doing this. 20 more seconds. You got this. Okay, so we'll go through at least one more of those full rotations on each side. The forward, the backward, the switch. One more time. 10 seconds left. You got this. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And split jumps. Let's do it. So going through our final set of these split jumps, again, trying to connect our arms and our legs and move everything faster so that you are feeling like you really need to stop when this minute is up, okay? Which you have 40 seconds left of. So we won't push too hard so that we can't hold it, but we do want to do something so that we don't feel like we can keep going when we approach the end of that minute, okay? More than halfway there, 25 seconds left. Let's go. Maybe moving your feet a little bit faster, which means you have to move your arms a bit faster. Oh yeah, let's do it. 15 seconds. Last chance with these split jumps. Let's get it. Strong finish. 5 seconds left. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, and get on down there for the bear squats. Plank position right away. Again, driving the hips back, bending the knees, reaching that strong plank position between every one of those. And trying to make it so our knees are just hovering above the floor. They're not lifting up too high, and they're not touching the floor. Not yet. Not for 35 more seconds, in which you're going to keep working through this. Keep breathing through this. This one, it can be kind of normal to sort of hold our breath, but I will remind you that it's not making anything easier. It's just going to make you feel probably worse at the end of your set. So we'll keep that breath flowing. 20 seconds left. Every time you send your hips back, we'll do that with an exhale, locking in that breathing pattern. 15 seconds, let's go. There you go. 5 seconds. Last one. 3, 2, 1. And time. And we are resting. Okay, so I'm going to leave this 60-second clock running right now, our rest time. So all I want you to do right now is simply just rest. Again, do those same few laps, a couple steps around your mat, whatever you have space for. We're going to grab water. And again, take those deep breaths, not the shallow chest ones. We talk about this often. It makes a really big difference getting all that air in there. So we have 30 more seconds left before we will even start talking about what's happening next, which you were already warned is our strength superset. So we have 3 different pairs of exercises that we are going to do. All of them will require that equipment that I talked about in the very beginning, including our dumbbells, this here towel, which is going to come into play. Of course, I have options for those of us who don't have it again. Turning off this timer here, we are going to take just about another minute before we actually start the strength, but I'm going to start talking about it right now. Starting off with our first superset, we are going to be working with a variation of our single leg deadlift, which is going to be our staggered stance deadlift. So the nice thing about this version is that you don't have to think about balance, which is always nice. I will be working with dumbbells, 1 dumbbell in each hand, standing hip width apart in our normal sort of straight leg deadlift position. But I'm going to take the ball of one foot, put it next to the heel of the other, and then shift all of the weight onto the standing straight leg with the flat foot. We want a soft knee, and then we're hinging the hips back, going through again that single straight leg deadlift, working with 12 reps on each side. So for those of us who don't have dumbbells, we're gonna loop a band underneath that foot, hold onto that band, and work with, again, this exact same motion of trying to hinge the hips back. So we're pushing the hips back behind us, and then we pull the hips up and forward, getting that direct work through the hamstring and the glute of that standing leg. So let's do this. Starting off this one, if you have not already, again, we are doing 12 reps on each side, 12 on this side, 12 on the other. Again, if you don't have dumbbells, we're going to use our loop band, holding it in that opposite hand, and then same thing, working with the hinge of the hips, which is very important. Pushing the hips back, pulling them forward, 12 on this side, and then we'll switch, and we'll work with 12 on our other side. Let's get it. So again, hamstring, feeling the back of the leg, and of course our glutes, I should say, because it is a single leg exercise. We should feel this only on that one side. So this is our first one. Second one, we are going to need some of that sliding space on our floor because we have a hamstring curl going on. Now I'm going to show you a couple different options. First off, I'll talk about our dumbbell option. For those of us who don't have a towel and or a floor to slide our towel on, what you can do is lay down in your prone or tummy down position like this, grab that dumbbell between our feet, and then you can pull up to 90 degrees, going through this hamstring curl. We have a range. We're doing 12 to 15. So that is our dumbbell option. Again, if you have the towel and somewhere to slide it on your floor, I'm just going to fold up my mat like this. Then what we're going to do is with that same rep range, 12 to 15, I'll have my heels on this towel, lay down on my back, sort of like we were in the warm-up, push my hips up to the very top, and then work with our hamstring curl, where we either keep our hips lifted, if we're feeling strong, or we can let the feet out, put the hips down, and then pull them in, resetting between every one of those curls. So we're doing 12 to 15. You have a choice. You can stop at 12. You can go up to 15. For those of us who don't have any of the above, you don't have a dumbbell, no towel, what you can do is hips up, and then we'll just walk our heels out, and then walk them back in. And again, count out 12 of these, maybe 15 if we would like, rather than sliding in and out. Alrighty, so that is our second exercise. Once we're finished this, we are going to take a little bit of rest, okay? 30 to 45 seconds, because we have very similar muscles being worked here. Hamstrings, which you are probably feeling. So we're going to take a little bit of time, and then do it again through 2 more sets. We have 3 rounds total of these 2. Okay, let's get it. So again, we'll take this little bit of time. Perfect. And then we will go into our second set. Back into the first one, our staggered stance deadlifts. So again, we want to make sure that we're having all of that weight on that leg with the flat foot. All this one over here is just giving us a bit of a kickstand. We don't want any weight in that leg, or else we'll take away from that single leg benefit that we are looking to get from this one. Again, we're doing 12 on each side, going as low as you need to until you feel that stretch in the back of that standing leg. And then we pull up by pulling our hips forward, and then we go down by pushing them back. That's going to help us keep the movement in our hips rather than sort of letting our chest come down, which will tend to sort of round our back, which we are looking to not do on this one. We want to make sure we're moving solely through the hips. Okay, let's get it. Second set, 12 and 12. There you are. Okay, so again, we'll keep all that weight on the standing leg. Make sure that we have that nice neutral spine, that we're following with our tucked chin. As we go down, we're looking at the floor, and then as we stand, we're looking at the wall or whatever is in front of you through your 12 and 12. There you are. Okay, so again with this one, we are going right into our hamstring curls, whatever version that you are doing here. I showed you 3 different versions, so you're doing one of those, and 12 to 15. The most important thing here, of course, especially if you're using this towel variation, is safety. We want to make sure that we're not feeling like we're going to be pulling anything, which is why we talked about that sort of hips down, hips up version. But we've also been working on this movement for a while, like a long time. So hopefully you're feeling stronger in it. And if you want to try doing it without touching your hips down, then give her a go. As long as you feel safe and maybe a little bit uncomfortable, because it's going to burn in the hamstrings, but it shouldn't feel like you're going to pull anything. All right, so we'll get through our second set, and then once again, we'll take a little bit of rest, okay? And again, that is because we have hamstrings from the deadlift to hamstrings on the curls. So we don't want to go right into our next set, because we want to allow everything back there to just rest a little bit before we go into our third and final set. It's going to be our last one. And my computer is wanting to be plugged in, but it is plugged in. There we go. Power bar was off. There we are. Okay. So we'll work through our last set. This is it, the last one on these 2. And our staggered stance or kickstand deadlift. 12 and 12, taking our sweet time and trying to keep that leg straight but knee soft. There you are. Okay, and then we will get going on our final set of those hamstring curls. We have lots of time. We have about 3 minutes until we should be moving on to our next superset. And we have 3 of them. This is the first one. It's 2 more after this. And then we are pretty much done. A couple stretches that we're going to do. And we are free to go. Okay. There we go. 12 and 12. Okay, feeling that hamstring, feeling the glutes. Standing leg, you should also feel our butt cheek work in. So we go through that hinge and moving our hips forward and backward. Whereas the hamstring curl is pretty much in the name. It's only and all about our hamstring, which we will feel as we do our final set here. So again, we have that same range, 12 to 15. Maybe you want to try to see if you can add in those extra 3 reps on this last set. And for any of these versions, we want to make this final set a little bit more challenging. So you have about 1.5 minutes left, which is lots of time to do even 15 reps. We slow down. It's going to make everything have more time under tension, and in turn, make you feel this a little bit more than if you go our normal 2 seconds tempo. Slow that down a bit if you would like. So we'll take 1 more minute as you are finishing up. If you're already done, just grab some water. Once again, we will rest the hamstrings, the legs, before we move on to part 2, which is still going to need all of this stuff, including our towel sliding on the floor, our dumbbells, and then I'm going to angle this down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so hopefully you're feeling worked in the back of your legs. Too much of an angle and get my head cut off. We are going to be moving on to our next superset, which is going to be starting off with a version of a slider reverse lunge. Now, we've been working on this slider lunge with the towel underneath the foot, going back into the lunge, and then pulling ourselves up. What we're going to do today is add a little bit of curtsy action into this. So that curtsy action, again, sort of in the name, as we go through our slider lunge, which again, for those of us who don't have a slider, you're just going to simply do this without the slider. We're going to be going down and sending this foot back and behind this hip of our standing leg, which is going to be putting more emphasis on the back side of this standing leg. So rather than having this leg just simply go back behind us, we're going to be going down and over behind this hip and then pulling ourselves up to the top. In terms of weight, I will prefer having one heavier dumbbell, or in my case, set of dumbbells in one hand, which will be the sliding leg hand. So if I'm having my foot with the slider under here, I'm going to be holding the weight on that side. Other arm will be out and strong to the side. And then we'll go through this slider curtsy lunge, doing 10 reps on each side. So when you're ready, let's do it up, starting our first set. Of course, we're going to pair this with another movement. Again, same thing. If you don't have that towel and or floor that allows you to slide it on, we're simply going to step back into the lunge, but still really focus on pulling ourselves up and out of that position rather than using that back foot to sort of push us out. Because we're holding the weight on one side, we also want to make sure that we're bracing our core, we're pulling in our belly button to our spine, and that's going to, again, just give you a little bit of that extra sneaky core work because of the single-sided weight. All right, so we'll do this on both sides. 10 over here, 10 over there, and the same rules apply with the band. For those of us who don't have dumbbells, we can loop that band under our foot, and then you'll just follow through the same technique of having that foot be sent back and behind the hip. 10 and 10. Okay, so we'll get through this first set. Second exercise is a squat variation. We're going to be working with a front-loaded squat. So I'm going to take both of my dumbbells now and load them up into this front-loaded position. Squat stance. So feet are a little wider than my hips. Toes have that angle out to the side. And we're going to be sitting down 1, 2, 3, 4, standing up with 1 second. So we want a nice explosive up phase and a controlled 4-second count on the way down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 second up. Not spending any time at the top, going right into the next squat, trying our best to keep our weights not resting on our chest. We want to keep them slightly in front of us. And again, if you have options on your dumbbells, you can always hold one dumbbell like this or like this rather than the two, but that count is going to be the same. So we're working with that eccentric, that focused lowering phase of 4 seconds, and you're doing 10 reps total. Should have told you that at the beginning. 10 reps of these squats with our 4-second count. Once you finish these, we're going to limit the rest. So we're not going to take that prescribed bit of rest between our sets. We have 3 more rounds. So I want you to go right into your second set of those curtsy lunges. Again, doubling up your weights, or again, just grabbing onto one of them and going through our second set of this curtsy lunge, where again, we're doing 10 and 10. Let's get it right into our second set of 4 sets of these 2. There you are. So we'll get through the second set. Again, trying our best to use that front leg, that front hip rather, to pull ourselves up. And again, because we're having that foot sort of be sent back, we're getting more stretch, which means more work on that glute of the standing front leg, which you're probably feeling a lot compared to our normal reverse lunges that we know and love. Maybe we love them, maybe we don't. So we'll get through the second set of these ones, and 10 and 10. Now, options for those of us who do not have dumbbells. Of course, you can grab onto a weighted household item, like a heavy water bottle or set of books or something to hold in your hands. We can also take our band and put it around our knees to increase the challenge of this one a little bit more if we don't have weights. Of course, this is also something you can do if you do have weights and if they're simply just not that hard. If you want to crank it up a notch, we can add this band around the knees as we go through our 10 4-second counted eccentric squats. So we want a nice, honest 4-second count, consistent count on every one of our 10 reps on this set and on the next two, because we have 2 more rounds of this stuff here. And we're going to limit the rest the whole dang time. So once you're finished the squats, we're going right into the 3rd set of those curtsy lunges. So we'll go through our 3rd round. Okay, 10 and 10. There we are. And trying to breathe through these ones, especially because this does really make it a lot more challenging than our normal just reverse lunges. You want to think about using that breath, that exhale. It's always going to help you. So think about exhaling as you're pulling yourself up, especially if you're struggling, and it should make your set a bit more manageable, if not more possible, for you to get 10 on each side. There you are. Okay, so lots of time. So same rules apply. If you do sort of want to slow down a bit, especially if you're working with weights that are kind of on the lighter side, we know, especially, really feeling it in that squat version, the slower we go, the harder it's going to be. So if you do want to sort of crank up your squats a notch, what we can do is that same 4-second count, we can even add a bit of time at the bottom here. 1, maybe 2 seconds before we stand up. But we want to keep that up phase powerful, fast, not taking time on the way up, but rather spending all of that time under tension on the way down, and then potentially holding at the bottom, which is optional. Okay, you don't have to do that, but it will make your entire set feel a lot harder. So if that's something that you're looking for right now at this time in your life, then that is something that you can try here on this set, or maybe even on your last set, because we have 1 more round of these 2. Before we move on to the last part, and this is all of the counting. The last part we're going to do here, the last strength superset, is off a timer, which is always nice. No counting involved. Then we have lots of time, maybe about 3 minutes until we should be, again, about starting that final part. So again, taking our sweet time on this last round. Okay, so we'll try to go right into that final set. Again, 10 and 10 with these curtsy reverse lunges. Feeling the glutes, the butte, working a lot on the set. And this is our last round. There we go. So 10 and 10. 10 of those squats, and then we shall rest. We're done. When the time is up, we should have 2 minutes left here. So 2 minutes is plenty of time for you to finish your lunges, and lots of time for you to do your set of these squats. In theory, they take about 30 to 45 seconds, so we have much more time than that. If you would like to, again, add in that little pause at the bottom, because it's our last set. We're always looking to challenge ourselves on our last set, especially if you're feeling not that challenged, like these are not the hardest things. We want to make this final set feel like we cannot do more than 10, okay? So taking your time on the way down, holding the bottom, but only once we've reached 90 degrees, and then again, exploding out of that squat, using that exhale to push yourself up 10 times, and then you're done this part. So, yay. As you guys finish up, I shall set our timer, which is already pretty much halfway set. for this last part. Okay. All right. Suppose I should just move my mat out of the way so we don't have to get that much. Okay, so we'll finish up some 10 reps and then we'll grab some water. Check it out. Get ourselves ready for our last part, which is going to need all of this same stuff. So I'm going to be using my towel, sliding on the floor. I will need bands. We're going to be using them, not optionally, unless you don't have them, in which case, of course, you don't really need them. And we don't actually need dumbbells for this last part. This one is without dumbbells. So what we're going to be doing is working off of a timer, which again is always nice. No counting involved. I will tell you when to switch sides for this first one. We're going to have a 60-second timer running. This first one, we're going to be spending 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other side, and then we'll have 20 seconds of rest, or really just time to get ourselves into our second one, which is going to be a wall sit variation. Now, of course, for those of us who don't have a wall that we want to sit our sweaty back on, you instead will just be working with a squat hold. Ideally, for both of these, we want to be including our bands. So we want to take a medium to heavy strength band. For the first one, I'm going to put it around my heel. So I'll have it in that low set position here. We're on the timer. Towel is going to be underneath one foot. And we're going to work with our 3-point extension. So we're going to be hitting those 3 different points out to the side, back on a 45, and then straight back behind the hip. 30 seconds on this side. And then we have a quick transition because, again, that timer's still going to be running. 30 seconds on this side. And then 20 seconds of rest for us to move our band up into this position. Get ourselves into our wall sit, where we're going to be working with abductions, where we're opening up against the band, holding this wall sit for the next 60 seconds, which again can very well be done in a squat hold. So if you don't want to sit your back on the wall, I get it, and you can just hold a squat instead. We have 3 sets of this, and then we are done for the day. A couple stretches we're going to do together. So let's get ourselves ready and set up for that first one. Band is around the heels. Right off the bat, I want to tell you this because it will really make everything a lot harder. If you have a second band, if you want to challenge yourself, we can add that second band right at the beginning here on that extension, and then you could potentially just leave it for your abductions. I will be sticking with the single band, but again, I know some of us really like to challenge ourselves, and that is something that you can do, is have that second additional band. So let's get set up for this extension. Again, foot has that slider underneath it. Soft knees, we want to hinge the hips back so we feel loaded in the hips. 3, 2, and let's go. 3-point extension, arms are in front of us. We again want to hit those 3 different points in this extension, trying to keep all of the weight in this standing leg. This one kind of seems like we should be working that moving leg, but it's the standing leg that's going to be getting all the work on this one. So we're breathing through. We have about 10 seconds until we'll switch sides. And again, we have to hustle when we switch in 3, 2, 1, and switch sides. So we'll go right into that second side. I don't want you to stand up. We want to stay in this sort of bent over athletic position and keeping the hips loaded the entire time. Same rules apply. Again, if we don't have that towel, we're simply just going to tap the foot. Okay, so working through 10 more seconds left. Glutes are on fire. Feeling the hips on this one. 3, 2, 1, and time. Nice job. Okay, so again, if you're using a single band, we're going to move the band up around the knees. If you're using a double band, your band is already around the knees, so you're good to go. We're going to get ourselves into this wall sitting position, or our squat hold, 90 degrees. We want to make sure that we're getting down all the way. And then we're opening the knees, but never allowing them to come closer. So they're hip width and then wider, wider. We don't want to allow them to come in like this. We want to keep that standard tension the entire set. We are working, trying to get our butts down to 90 degrees. And woo, 30 seconds left. So we'll really just try to pace ourselves. If you feel like you're not going to make it, just forget about those abductions and just hold, okay? Just stay there, breathe through it, forget about opening your knees, and just try to stay strong in this position here. 15 seconds left. Okay, whatever you do, we'll just try to stay in this squat hold, this wall sit hold. 10 more seconds. Okay, if you can keep going with the knees, let's keep it moving. 3, 2, 1. Ow! Okay, so that was our first set. Woo! We are going to do that 2 more times, and then we are done. Okay? So moving that band back down around our heels. We only have this 20 seconds, okay? So we're going to essentially go right into our second set. Starting right now, let's do it. So hinging the hips back, arms in front of us, working with that 3-point extension, trying to keep still as possible on the standing leg. We don't want to be moving the upper body or moving the hips. We want to essentially be balancing here as we go through these 3 different points. Keep going on this side. Yes. Switching in 3, 2, and switch sides. So right away over to that second side. Let's get it. Burning glutes. And we should really be feeling the hips on this one, specifically that standing leg. But really you're going to feel both because, again, we are working both sides. Yes. Keep it moving. I think this one's probably the easier of the 2. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see how you feel in this next set. 3 seconds, 2, 1. Time. Awesome work. Okay. So we'll move that guy up to the top. Just sitting right, again, above the knees. Get ourselves ready for our wall sit. And our 60-second wall sit, which is pretty much hard without anything else, let alone having to do these abductions. Okay, here we go. So again, if you feel like you are simply just not going to make it, then forget about these. We're just going to hold this here. Of course, I want you to keep the band on, which is already making it harder because the band wants your knees in. So we really have to fight the band the whole time, which is going to engage those little burning muscles on the sides of our hips. And then, of course, our quads, okay? The muscles that run down the tops of our legs, they are on fire, which is part of the deal on this one. So another thing that you could potentially do is sit just above 90 degrees, so rather than getting all the way down, and that's going to apply to both the squat hold or the wall sit. But I don't want you to stand up, not yet. No, 15 more seconds. We're going to stay down there as much as we don't want to. There you go. Finishing strong here. 5 seconds. Don't give up. 3, 2, 1. Ow! All right, last set, my friends. We are here for the final round. So we're going to move this band back down. Take a couple deep breaths. We're going to need them to get through this last set. Grab onto our sliding towel if we're using it. Again, hinging the hips back so that we're feeling tightness in the glutes before we even start extending that leg out. Again, we want to make sure that nothing's happening here. Everything's staying as still as possible, especially now. And we're starting to get quite tired if we weren't already. So we'll try to, again, get that leg straight between each of those extensions. Okay, holding it here. 3, 2, 1, and switch sides. Hustling. Switching right over to the other side. And trying to do the same thing that you did on the first side, right over here. So tightness in the hips, reaching that foot away, but not allowing any movement to happen in your body. 10 seconds left. Last time you're here, which I know is good news because it's the burner. Let's get it though. 3, 2, 1. Time. Okay. Best for last. Just kidding. This is probably the most burning one for last, but we're going to get it done. You're going to feel so good after this, once we're finished, maybe even after you've like stretched and, you know, cooled down and all that stuff. But we are going to get through this starting in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So we'll work through this one, going through these abductions, preferably the whole time. Okay, but again, the wall sit is pretty much really dang challenging for most of us, holding for a minute just alone. So whatever you need to do, whether it's just holding, keeping, maybe trying to push through and keeping going with those abductions, okay, for this entire amount of time, which is 30 seconds. 30 seconds goes so fast in real life. Maybe definitely not when you're wall sitting. But before you know it, you will be there. Just try to take deep breaths, because that's pretty much the only thing that is going to help you get through this, is breathing, not holding your breath. Okay, 10 seconds left. Don't give up on yourself. You can do this. You'll be stronger next time you go to do this one. Push yourself right now. 3, 2, 1, and ouch. Nice job. Okay, so unband. Take that thing off. Slingshot it away, because we are done with it. We have a couple of stretches that we are going to do, which you will be very happy to do at this point. I'm going to lay my mat back out here. This first stretch is going to be standing. It's going to be for the quad, a little bit of work in the hip. We're going to grab onto the top of our foot. We want to make sure we're holding on to something so that we don't have to worry about balance. And we are stretching out that quad, get a little bit in the hip, holding this here. You guys are on a timer, so you don't have to worry about counting or anything like that. We're going to be spending 45 seconds on each side. I have my running clock over there, so you are joining in with me here. Now, for some of us, this stretch might be too much. And if you're feeling like you can't really reach that foot, what you can do instead is go down into your half kneeling hip flexor quad stretch, this one down here instead, okay? Because I know some of us are probably feeling quite tight. Maybe we're tight to begin with, so that one's going to be a lot more comfortable, because these should not be painful. We should just feel tension. Okay, so we have about 5 seconds left here, and we shall switch sides. So I'm just going to turn around so I can still hold on to my wall. I'm not thinking about balance. We're done with all the thinking work, the hard balance work, although there wasn't too much balancing today. So we're trying to breathe into the stretch and feeling that quad open up. All the wall sitting, all the squats that we did, even those bear squats at the beginning, we had a lot of work in the quads today. Hence why we have this direct quad stretch going on. So we'll take about 15 more seconds, and then there is one more stretch that I want you guys to do together with me here, and you will be very happy to do it. It's going to feel good. And after all that crazy stuff that we did, so a couple more deep breaths. Trying to just breathe into the stretch. Okay, so we're going to release that one. The next one's down on the floor. I'm just going to give us a bit of an angle on the screen here so you can get the whole picture. We're going to work with that bow and arrow stretch. So you can come on down onto the floor to stay. We're going to lay down on our side. We want to stack up our legs, our arms. We're going to take the top leg and we'll weave it underneath the bottom like so. Take a big breath in and then exhale, cross. Try to get this arm straight if you have room. If you don't, you can just keep it bent. And then right away, we're reaching up and over into this more dynamic bow and arrow. We're going to do this 3 times. Just trying to loosen up this specific stretch here, which is really a full body stretch. We're going to feel the hip, the low back, as well as a little bit in our chest and shoulder. So we're doing this 3 times. And then once we're done 3, we're going to go into a 4th. And we shall hold it here. We're going to spend 30 seconds, which again, if you're following along with me, I am timing for you, and that timer has started. And we'll hold this here, just trying to breathe into it. If you are pretty tight, what you can do is undo your legs and just stack them instead like this, which is going to make it feel a lot better if you, again, are feeling kind of tight in that position there. Because again, it should not be painful. It should feel good. Not like we're pulling anything. We're going to hang out here for about 10 more seconds. And trying to breathe into that stretch, relax. and hold it here. One more deep breath. And then again, we'll reach up and over and switch sides. So if you want, you can just flip over. I'm going to actually turn around so I can still face y'all. And we shall do it again. So again, if you felt good with weaving that leg, then you can go ahead and do that on this side. Again, 3 of them are going to be dynamic, which is our movement ones, where we want to move through them without holding them. 3. Okay, and then we'll go through again that one last one where we will come across and simply just hold. Again, if you found it's too tight, especially on the holding ones, it might feel a little tighter than the movement ones. You can stack those legs up like this and hang out here for our 30 seconds, which we have about 20 seconds left of. So these are the 2 stretches that we're going to do together today. If there's any other stretches, I'm going to talk about 2 more of them that you might want to do right now. You can also come back and repeat another set of that quad stretch or that hip flexor stretch. But there's 2 other ones that you might want to do. So we'll finish up this one here. And you'll be independent for these last 2. You're going to have to time yourself, the glutes, because we did a lot of work for the hips. This might be one that you want to do. And we'll hold this for 30 to 60 seconds on each side. So you can set a timer on your phone, on your clock, on your computer, whatever it is, and do this one on both sides. 30 to 60, 30 to 60. And then the last and final one is going to help us just loosen up our lower back, which is this cat-cow. We're rounding our back. We're arching our back. And you can do this again 3 to 5 times and then finish off dropping your heels back in this child's pose, little yoga-esque movement here, which we know feels really good, especially after all the stuff we did. And you can hang out here. Which you, my friends, are done with me. Thanks so much for another awesome week of training, another awesome session. Got the legs done. Thanks to Carly and Dave for hanging out in the Zoom room. Woo! I will see you guys next week. Hopefully you feel good and hopefully you have a great weekend. Okay, bye. And my replay watchers, I always love reading your comments. So if you are here, if you're still with us, drop a comment below. Let me know how you feel. And I will also see you guys next week. Okay, bye.